Hey everybody, it's Chad here. Well, it rained pretty heavily yesterday, and so all the roses that were getting close to being done with their first flush, they took a beating, which is a great time to clean them up, to deadhead them. Now, what we're gonna do in this video is deadhead these rose trees. That's gonna be a little different than how I would some of the other roses, but I want all these roses to bloom at the same time for their second flush. So the way to do that is, there's a few of them, like right here, for example, it has some new growth. I am not going to keep that new growth. I'm gonna cut the whole thing back, shape the tree up how I want the shape to be for these rose trees, and that way they'll all have new growth and bloom at the same time, versus a little bit here, all this cut, a little bit there. And the same with some of these. You'll see here, this has just a little bit of new growth on this one, but here's one good example. I could just wait, let this bloom and that little cluster bloom and that little cluster bloom. But if I do that and then try to cut the rest, then I'm gonna have to remember to come back and cut those out if they're done, and then those other ones will start coming out, and they'll be, I just want it all at once. So for rose trees, I will sacrifice these. It's hard to do, I know, but I shall make the sacrifice. Over the years, I have done it the opposite way, but I'm gonna do that this year especially. Just cut them into the right shape, let everything grow back from there, and then they'll all be nice and clean. Also, we have like this heavy branch here that's been drooping for quite a while, and the rain made it even worse. So we're going to take most of that off, shape all this a little nicer, and the same thing over here. And also maybe put some stakes down in the ground. Some of these stakes have rotted and bamboo is broke or what have you. So put a new stake in and straighten these up just a little bit, because this one's a little bit crooked. So that's what we're gonna do today. Remember, when you're doing rose trees, you can't really hurt them. You know, if you can get as specific or as general as you want as you're cutting them back. And I just don't want this thing to be so tall and coming up over the side and hanging out. We want to keep it under control. As hard as that sounds, it's gonna make it flush really, really good for a second flush. All right, let's get to it. All right, we're gonna start here because I just did an entire tree. I'll show you. I just did this one. Forgot to hit play, but went quite a bit farther down than I would have last year, and I'm just gonna see how that works. I think it'll make bigger blooms and probably more of them as it grows back out. Maybe not quite as quick, but that's the way we're gonna try them. And then this here, pink knockout, go ahead and trim it back down to size before all the new growth really gets going. Even that one, because it's about the right height and it's going to start growing out. So I could cut that one back, but it's coming from way down there, so I'll let it go and kind of see what it does. All right, so I think that's going to come back really nice. There's some really strong canes out there that would have just gotten higher and higher. So I think this will help them to grow back really strong and lots of blooms. Let's keep going. This sunny knockout is the only one I'm going to break my rule on. It's under some shade. Usually only has one good flush, and then last year just kind of froze. Didn't do anything and came out this year again. So I'm just going to trim it very lightly. Just like the last knockout, we're going for shape versus finding an outward facing bud and all that good stuff. If there's one close, I'll do it, but otherwise I'm going probably farther than you would think. Okay, the camera is dying. It's getting overheated out here. The sunlight, evidently, doing this 4K video here. But wanted to let you know, this is another time I break those rules. I have went, let me show you what I'm talking about. Right here, I'm gonna go back from this spent flower, way back here, just cut, boom, like a haircut. Did that all the way around. I am not, however, cutting that new growth because it's already ready to bloom and it's gonna be a huge cluster. As well as on this side, another huge cluster. So, you know, use common sense if you got a big blooms coming out, you know, if you want to see those. But I had a smaller one with like 3 buds coming up here. Cut that off because I'm not worried about those 3 buds. And then once these are done, we'll have another flush. So this thing will just be flushing alternately. Kind of cool. But that's a drift rose, so that's a little bit different. I'm going to do a drift rose right now, hopefully, if the camera cooperates, and let you see how to do those. They're more of a haircut versus going back down as far as you do the regular knockout rose trees. Drift roses, just kind of trim around the edges. Take off those big clusters that are spent and weighing everything down. Just like that, just like that. Drift roses, just give them a little haircut, go back a little bit, give them some stronger stuff to grow off of. See, like this right here, come back to there, let it grow from there. This right here, go back, way back there. See where it's coming from? Back there, back there. Don't have to be exact. They're drift roses. They're gonna grow back really well in clusters. But you just wanna give them something stronger to grow off of. These right here, ow, gloves would be nice. Back, back, go back. This is actually way back here. Cut the whole thing. And they will grow back stronger, I promise. From here, they'll start growing. Don't worry, it's gonna be all right. You're not gonna hurt them. I try to remember to do this also at the top, at the front of the video, and some words at the top if I forget and you don't make it this far. But when you're cutting roses like this, very important, they're gonna wanna start coming out with new growth. So what they do need when you're doing this is food. So don't forget to fertilize them. After they flower is a great time to fertilize. Way back there, get it stronger. Too heavy. Way back here, grow stronger. Thin growth, pencil thin. Go back. Just back up. It's all good. Not gonna hurt anything. That one, I'm gonna cut it. Start over. Right there. Don't want one little section of small blooms like that. This thing here needs to get stronger. Ow. Gloves would be nice. Keep not putting them on, lazy. That branch just stinks. Start over now, a little stronger. There we go. Looks good. Nice shape. Grow back nicely. Same thing with this one, just trim it up. Doesn't have a lot of new growth going yet, so we can just shape it how we want. About like that, all the way around. And always this new growth, want to go down a little bit, or the spent blooms, go down just a little bit. All right, now you can see it. Got all the rose trees shaped up much nicer. Left a few blooms on the one in the back there because it has two big, huge clusters coming out. We'll let that happen, then cut those. Everything else here, nice and rounded kind of shape. Here we go. This is the only one we kind of cheat on. Left some blooms on that because it's in the shade and it has a hard time sometimes to kind of bounce back after that first flush. So I'm just gonna let it keep going. Now, as you may have read at the beginning, if I remember to put it in there, and I'm going to say it again here before we end this video, the most important thing you can do right now is these things are going to want to start growing again really crazy. They need food. Give them fertilizer. I use rose tone, just going to throw it around the base, and then either it's going to rain or I'm going to water it in, one or the other. Do that with all of them. Next video or two, pretty soon, I'm going to do the same thing up here. I'm going to cut those knockout roses back down to size, drift roses, give them a haircut, a little bit more, less, exact on the drift roses, but lower them all down. And doing that too cuts off any new growth that's kind of started that's really small, that's going to start blooming irregularly. I want them to all kind of flush at the same time. And I want to do that in the next, either tonight or this evening or tomorrow morning or tomorrow afternoon, sometime very soon, because if you do this all at once, it helps all of your flush come out at the same time for round 2. So if you guys like this video, hit the like button, subscribe, share it with your friends, and we will see you real soon. Have a good day. Bye-bye.